asked Allah, I said Allah to share Nigeria into 4. Allah share Nigeria into 4. Let's everybody relax. We don't have any time. We are killing everybody. If Habinda, what happened in Edo State, if it happened in northern Nigeria, it happened that they kill Igbo people or they kill any southerner, the story will be different. The story will be different. You know, Igbo people with propaganda. Small time they say Muslims are killing Christians. It happened that it happened in the north side. I have one of my previous video that I said about that it can't happen really. You understand? So we don't want any issue. May Allah, I say God, may God share Nigeria into 4 parts. May you give your Biafra 5 plot of your land. You carry JJ, go. We don't get issue with you. Niger Delta, you get oil, get resources. May God give you your own creek. Carry your creek, go. JJ, no fight. Yoruba people, Allah don't give you blessing of sea. You have seaport, you have resources. Carry your resources, alhamdulillah. Carry them, JJ, go without sharing of blood. Very simple. We are deceiving ourselves every time. One Nigerians, but we are not once for our minds. Just take a good look at what happened in Nigeria. It has been that what happened recently in Edo State, it happened in the north side. The story will be different. Even channel television cannot allow to rest. Social media everywhere. But now it happened with Hausa people. They look like people are taking it like animals. I see some people are doing propaganda, carrying another bandage pictures, another country pictures are posting and saying that, see, Northern, where are they carrying for AK-47 to go this? You see what happened? You, Northern, you have lands. You have land to farm. You have gold. You have oil. We, Northern, we have oil. We have oil as Niger Delta have. So where are we looking? Everybody carries on self JJ and go. Share without blood. We can share the country without blood. It happened during Jonathan. They did it in House of Assembly. They did not succeed. But inshallah, now let's do it by ourselves. Let's do it generalizing, not sharing of blood. Let's share the country. Everybody will stay peace. Everybody will stay peace. If I'm going to Lagos and I'm going to another country, I will follow their rules. If they are coming to my side, they know they are going to another country. They follow their side. Everybody is very simple. All is West Africa.
Let's tell ourselves the truth now, at least for once. See, I'm going to speak and a lot of people will think I'm speaking like a Biafran, but no, I want us to reason like analytical human beings. The fact is the division of Nigeria with all the indications on ground so far is inevitable. The division of Nigeria is inevitable without implementing the regional system of government. Okay, let's look at the indicators. Number one, the fact is, the issue of national insecurity at the moment happens to be majorly a northern problem, right? You quite agree with me on that. And in that regards now, any government of the day, any president at the moment that is not of the northern descent or northern origin that tries to fix that, if he's hoping to come for a second tenure, I bet you he can't succeed in that. You quite agree with me, right? And this is what I mean by that. Okay. In addressing, considering bringing into view now what happened recently in Benue, just the normal issue of farmers, herders clashes as they call it, right? Okay. In fixing this kind of situations, now forget about the deployment of military, police, whatever the president coming to visit. You quite agree with me that that doesn't solve anything and is not going to solve anything. The only thing that will solve that to some certain extent is we having a situation where there is ranches established for herders, right? That is to say, the herders must be in tune with changing times. Because you quite agree with me, there's no developed country you go to in this world today that you'll find a situation where animals wander all around. There is none. You can never find any developed country of that nature. But in so doing now, if the president of the day tries to enforce that, it's going to be rejected by the northerners to some certain extent, evidently clear even in the past, right? considering the fact that these people are citizens or whatever, they are nomadic in nature, right? That has always been the conversation. They are nomadic in nature. So they move from places to places. And the fact is, I don't know where we're actually getting this. Okay, if you say you are nomadic in nature, how do you expect the government to account for you? Have you ever seen a country where you have citizens being nomadic in nature and the government can account for them and make budget for?
Cybersecurity is very important, but how about cybersecurity with artificial intelligence? I'm Professor David Costa, the Dean here at Robert Kennedy College in Switzerland. And
so you see, the fact is, the headers must be in tune with changing times, but they are not ready for that, and even the politicians are not ready to have that conversation. Let's look at the issue of dialogue. We need to preach dialogue. We need to be accommodating. There's enough to share, according to Tinubu. But looking at it, you quite agree with me that as far as this life, this nature is concerned now, people have metamorphosized over time, which is the fact that people no more just live because they want to embrace each other in love and peace and harmony. There are two things that guide and regulate the conduct of humanity. One, adequate enforcement of the law. Even in developed countries, that is to say, you know that when you do this, this will happen. You must reap for it. You will go in for it. That makes people behave to some certain extent. Another thing that guides people's conduct is the fact that they must be subordinate and superior. Right? That is to say, in anywhere I live for there to be peace, is either they must be, you are the senior, I am the junior. So you know that when you try me, I will finish you, and me that knows that you are more powerful than me, I will not try you. Those are the things that keeps people in check. But if you think that we're going to sit down and be, in as much as we desire one Nigeria, we want to preach and we want to be all accommodating, we believe we're stronger together, but it's not the preaching of peace and love or whatever that keeps people together. These two indications are what keeps people together. And you quite agree with me to some certain extent, the two is missing. There is no adequate enforcement of laws. We are under-policed. Even the armed forces is overwhelmed, and a lot of other things. So what will keep people in check? So what we are fighting for at the moment is a situation where who is more powerful? Is it me, the Fulani man? Is it me, the Yoruba man? Is it me, the Igbo man? Or is it me, the Hausa man? The fact is, that must be sorted out. When it's sorted out, now everybody will know his position, and people now will just decide to keep quiet and whatever. Looking at it, when you now introduce our religious extremism in all aspects as well, that is evident in the country. You have a lot of radical Muslims, radical Christians who are not ready to tolerate each other. The only thing that will make us tolerate each other, let's tell ourselves the truth, is the full implementation of the law and the adequate protection of the vulnerable. That is just it. And all these things are missing. So how do you tell me we are not going to divide? And the fact is, looking at it now, Tinubu will not dare go that way. Right? Because by the time he tries to introduce that, okay, there must be establishment of ranches to curtail the free movement of the Fulanis, you quite agree with me that he is going to lose a lot of... the fact is he's already losing at the same time as far as the North is concerned at the moment. And that is what will bring the division closer in that regards. In the sense that Tinubu doesn't look like somebody that is ready to let go of the fact that this 8 years is his birthright. And at the same time, the Northerners are not ready to give it to him. So when you have a clash of the titans, Abi, that is what I refer to this 2027. Forget about this defection. Clash of the titans is going to definitely give birth to something.
Okay, we.
So, with all these indications on ground, my brother, the issue of one Nigeria, we are going to get better, will remain nothing but a delusion, seriously. We're going to talk more in this regard.
What it means is that we are not united. We are still what Chief Obafemi Awolowo once called a piece of geographical expression. Ahmadu Bello once said it was a piece of historical mistake because we were cobbled together on 1st January 2014 by Lord Lugard, the Southern and Northern Confederates and the Lagos colony, after Nigeria had been given her name by a young British author who wrote in the London Financial Times of 8th January 1897, calling it Nigeria, that Niger area. That is first major problem. In other words, we were cobbled together through the direct and indirect rule system that we were operating, with all of us already enjoying our independence. The Benin Empire, the Oyo Empire, the Kane-Bonu Empire, the ancient Ife. We were already independent, having our own systems of government, and we were happy. Jaja Fopobu, Nana Ofichekiri, Oba of Baramino Baise of Benin, who beat the British back with bare knuckles, for which he was deported to Calabar, where he lived and died 27 years later. So such people that were already used to their independence and ways of life, to put them together and say they cannot now discuss their future.
Is it the reason for the agitation we see in Nigeria? This idea of lack of nationhood.
In fact, it is the beginning and the end of it. I can assure you that you were talking about 3 problems. I identified that one major problem. If you don't have nationhood and nobody believes in Nigeria as a country, if I ask you, Shehu, where are you from? You won't say I'm in Nigeria. You first quickly mention your village and then your state. Then you are filling a form. After asking you for your name, the next question is place of origin. You put it town, they say local government. You put it, they say state. You put it, then they say religion. You are already being typified. You are already being profiled to know whether what we want here can come to you or not come to you.
But how do we resolve this? Because either we like it, you are an Ozekome.
Yeah.
You have your origin.
Yes.
You are of the Edo origin.
Yes.
And if you want to drill down, you can tell who your forefathers are.
Yeah.
I am on Okimbaloye, and I can also tell who my forefathers are.
Yeah.
But can we take away the fact that we are different tongues? Our tongues differ.
No.
And our presidents who have constituted conferences, at least 2 of the presidents have said, you can have every conversation, but the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. The former President Goodluck Jonathan said as much. In those kind of conversations, the fear of disintegration and some people wanting to exit the nation might start, don't you think?
Now, I tell you, Shehu, I am not saying every Nigerian should now be the same person. In fact, I've always argued, and I'm on record to say that of Professor Onigu Otite's 374 ethnic groups. But when you want to roughing it over others, for example, like former President Buhari calling a whole ethnic group, one of the 3 largest ethnic groups, the Igbos, Southeast, as a dot in the cycle. What will you call me? A minority within a minority from Ijukwe, near Agenebode, East local government area of Edo State. What are you going to call me? But in America, for example, they first ask you, what's your name? You tell them. They say, where are you from? We ask you, what do you mean? You mean where I work? Or where I schooled? Or where I live now? Or where I was born? Because each of them would have been different. But they regard themselves as Americans. So they have they have what we call faith in their country. We do not have faith in our country. How do we do that? That is why when we go around on a Sunday, tomorrow is Sunday, today is Sunday. If you are go around, you will see different town unions. And where will you see a Nigerian union holding a meeting? So it's like the Bible. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added. If we get it right constitutionally, because the present foundations are fundamentally damaged, they are damaged. I give you an example, Seun. If you have a house that the walls are cracking, how do you repair the walls? Do you go to the walls, you take a hammer, you begin to chisel it with a chisel, right? Then you get cement, mortar. You call it bricklayer. I say, help me patch this wall. He patches it. In 1 or 2 months' time, more chaos, more gullies, more cracks appear on the wall. You have to look for the cause of that wall. You discover that there's a big tree in your compound whose trees have sprouted. They have become so big that they have gone towards the foundation of the house, and it's what is actually threatening it to fall. What do you do to that tree? You don't go to the tree and cut off the branches, because the branches will grow anyway again, and the walls will continue to crack. You go to the tree, to the roots, uproot it. So,
see, when we begin to talk about Nigeria from the year 2060, the first question that a mathematician will want to ask is, one, are we sure there will be Nigeria in the year 2060? In other words, you're talking about something that you are not 100% sure will be there at the time you are talking about it. You see, because before we can begin to discuss Nigeria of 2060, we need to address the problems that we have right now, that if these problems are not solved, then this will be just an academic exercise. Not that I don't enjoy the exercise, I mean, it's very refreshing. But you see, I think on one of the occasions when I was on a long flight from London to Singapore, a journey of about 13 hours or something.
MoneyPoint, the business bank for Nigerian businesses, for 5 million plus Nigerian businesses.
After you've eaten and you slept and you woke up and then discover you still have some 7 hours to go, definitely you have time to fool around a little bit. And then I was thinking about Nigeria. And I have this thought within myself, which I think I will just share with you. By the time I finish sharing it, you are likely to consider it a joke from a mathematician, because after all, mathematicians can be eccentric at times. I just felt that why can't we have a system of government that is 100% Nigeria, unique to us? For example, we started off with the British system of government. Somewhere along the line, we moved over to the American system of government. Now, just wondering, can't we have a combination of both and see whether it could help us solve a problem? See, because in mathematics, if you want to solve a problem and you try what we call real analysis and it doesn't work, then you move on to complex analysis and see if that will help you. If that fails, you move on to vector analysis and so on. I believe that probably we might need to look at the problem of Nigeria in a slightly different manner. You see, because some people feel that all our problems will be over if Nigeria should break up. I think that is trying to solve the problem of Nigeria as if it's a simple equation problem. The problems of Nigeria will require quite a bit of simultaneous equations, and some of them are not going to be linear either. Forgive me, I'm talking as a mathematician. So I was thinking, why can't we, for example, have a system of government that will create a kind of what I would call United States of Nigeria? Let me explain. We all know that we must restructure. I mean, it's either we restructure or we break. That means say you don't have to be a prophet to know that one. That is certain to come. Restructure or break up. Now, we don't want to break up. I mean, God forbid. In restructuring, why don't we have, like I said, a Nigerian kind of democracy? At the federal level, for example, why don't we have a president and a prime minister? What do you mean? Well, if we have a president and a prime minister, and we share responsibilities between these two, so that one is not an appendage of the other. For example, if the president controls the army and the prime minister controls the police, if the president controls, shall we say, resources like oil and mining, and the prime minister controls finance and inland revenue, taxes and customs, etc., etc. You just divide responsibilities between the two. And then you come to the state level. And at the state level, you have the governor and you have the premier. And again, you distribute responsibilities between these people in such a manner that one cannot really go all alone without the other. Maybe this is just a mathematical suggestion, and the mathematician can be eccentric, like I've said. Maybe we might begin to tackle the problem. And if we're going to adopt this model, which you eminent personalities will be able to talk about, I think then we will need urgently to restore what we used to call the House of Chiefs. I have a feeling that one of our major problems is that we have pushed the traditional rulers to the background. And I believe that's a great error, particularly for a country like Nigeria. You see, I find it very ridiculous that one will ask a traditional ruler to inform the chairman of his local government before he travels. Go to any town in Nigeria.
This is the most powerful CCTV camera you will see today in Nigeria. Yes.
Everybody in the town knows who is the paramount ruler, and they respect him. Many of them don't even know the name of the chairman of their local government. The traditional rulers are the actual landlords. They control the respect of their people. there are people who listen to them much more than, I'm sorry to say, they will listen to some politicians. And so just like they have, say, the House of Lords in Britain, why can't we have the House of Chiefs? We might expand it and include in that House of Chiefs, as they do in Britain, include some religious leaders, bishops. I'm not a bishop, I'm a pastor, so don't think I'm including myself. Bishops, chief imams, and so on and so on. These are people who can shape the opinions of the people. I'm just putting that one as a little presentation to those of you who can think about it. Maybe it will help us to get Nigeria going. And then, without any doubt, we must restructure and do it as soon as possible. A United States of Nigeria is likely to survive much more than our present structure.
Mark my word, I am seeing Yoruba separate, Biafra separate, Arewa separate. Separate. It's coming. It will happen soon. Separate. Separate.
The protests that will bring about change in Nigeria, in fact, Africa at large, will not be planned first. Nobody will come on social media and say a date has been chosen for us to carry out a nationwide protest or a continental protest to bring about change in Africa. Protests that are often planned before they materialize are always bound to fail. There are a lot of elites in Africa that are very corrupt and are puppets to the West that will ensure that protest does not become a reality. They will make sure they hire people that will come and destroy that protest, turn the protest into another thing, start stealing during the protest, or entertain people during the protest. You see some people dancing and doing all sorts of unnecessary things during a protest that is supposed to bring about revolution. That is why you don't announce the date of protest. And those are the kind of protests we have been organizing in Africa. That is why we have not gotten any tangible result. The protests that happened in Kenya, they did not come to social media to announce a date. People just came to a collective conscious reality and they took action. The same thing with Nepal. They did not pick a date before they organized their protest against corruption and bad governance. It just happened. Everybody just came to the consciousness of the fact that they have been suffering for too long and silence will not bring about change. They took action. That is the kind of protest that will bring about change. If you ever come to announce a protest on social media before the protest date, that protest will never be successful. There's a high possibility. And if that is what you are waiting for before you make a move, then you are not ready to protest. Any protest that anybody, regardless of the person that is organizing that protest, so far the person comes and announces the date of that protest is bound to fail. Africans are just looking at Nepal and they are wishing that it was them in that position. But that is the thought of a foolish man, especially when you don't intend to take any action to bring about that reality. It's so sad that what is happening in Nigeria is even worse than what has been happening in Nepal. But Nigerians are so happy being divided and entertained. That is why I don't speak about Nigerian matters, because it's very frustrating. A lot of people would rather fight for their God than to fight against bad governance. God that is capable of fighting for himself or herself. The real issues that are on ground, who will solve it? That's why I said Nigerians have not suffered enough. Nigerians have not suffered enough. Giant of Africa, my foot. Nigerians are just strong on social media. But when it comes to real life matters, most of them are weak. They have strength for rubbish. Somebody is fighting because of football. Somebody is fighting because of a woman that does not even like you to begin with. All these are unnecessary matters that does not affect the reality that we are facing as a collective. Nigeria will never get better if we continue like this.
You know, say when I first day for sale, where police arrest me that time. That whole first day, now videos of Nigerians, where they laugh me, and then they show me. The police people say, "No be that, we have got you." They show me videos. We'll take you down. They show me videos upon videos of different Nigerians calling for my prosecution. By this one, how they will beat ya. That's what they were showing me in the cell. All night. But the next morning, when I go stand up, say when they go court, my people were everywhere in court. Everywhere full of people. From that moment, I became even stronger. I know say things must change for me for the matter. So make this one be our chance to show that we are grateful for some things. Show the boy that you are grateful. Don't let them treat him. Show them that they can no longer treat us as they like. Make all those church power men for church. Which they get Nigeria. All this now overseer. Now they get Nigeria. Let me tell you the secret. See, you know if you do bad thing, make your mind day at rest. Which I tell you, you know if you do bad things, make your mind day at rest. These general overseers, other than the money laundering that they do through the church, because church business is nothing but money laundering business. That's why Oyedepo and Godeyab for example, which money are you donating to me? It's not your tithe money I'm spending. And you know, get business. What business are they doing? Not be for inside Orisha Jaffor plane. They make $9 million cash for South Africa. The South African government sees that. He say Jonathan give him the money to go buy arms. He said Jonathan give her the money to go buy arms. Abi? Not with this Nigeria. Not with this Nigeria.
All right, so let me come to you. You served in 1995, 1996.
That's correct.
And you do not have your NYSC certificate 29 years after in 2025
yes.
because of your activities while you were a youth corps member.
Yes.
What did you do?
I was campaigning against the military. And I worked in a TV station, Adamawa Television. Okay. And when Wike was killed in November 1995, I was doing a show and I said that this was unjust. But my executive director didn't vet it, you know, and he played and had to shut down the station, and they bundled me out of the station. The station wasn't doing much for me. They were paying me like 15 naira in addition to NYC at that time. And they gave me a mattress. And they drove back to where I was and removed the mattress and the pillow. So for the rest of the time I was in NYC, I was sleeping on the floor. And then on the day of my final graduation, I was arrested by the DSS. And then transferred to the Air Force base in Yola and kept in the guard room. When I asked the Air Force guy what was my offense, he said one of the times because I also stayed in the Air Force base in Yola at an officer's mess with a doctor friend of mine, Dr. Bello. So they said that while I was there, they overheard me discussing that the Abacha regime should be overthrown, and that was so it was while they were waiting to process me into Abuja that they changed their commander. He came, and Punch newspaper had reported, Northern Edition, that a copper was held after he had completed his service. He was upset. He said, "Why would you arrest a copper and take him back to the DSS? Let them do whatever they want." The next morning, they took me back to DSS. DSS let me go, and when I went back to try to get they said it has been taken back to Abuja, and I sued them. Femi Falana helped me sue them. And the judge ruled that I have to go back and complete the internal processes of complaining against the NYC. You know, it was under military rule. Justice Jinadu was our judge. I was represented by GT Ogunye from Femi Falana's chambers at that time. So when that ended, they presented in court that even though I had completed my NYC, they had extended my NYC service by 6 months to go back to Sokoto. So we decided that it was a trap.
So you didn't do the 6 months?
I can't go back and complete something that I have already completed. Okay. I was arrested on the day of the passing out parade. after I had completed. It was when I was waiting to collect the certificate that I was arrested. And last year I wrote to the NYC that I think common sense should prevail, return my certificate to me. And they started, you know, their usual bureaucracy, that my letter stated the name of the director before the Director General. We changed it and they refused to collect the letter. So that's my story with the NYC. But it happened to Bamidele Aturu late. He refused to shake hands with a military dictator governor. They seized his own. I think Femi Falana's NYC certificate was given to him during the Okuta panel. So there are a lot of people who are involved in political activism who suffer from NYC oppression.
I see. Thank you very much, Omoyele Sowore, advocates and rights activists. It's also good having
politicians. It reminds me of what happened in Bangladesh, what is going on in today's Pyongyang. The brutality and oppressiveness of a leader can make his people turn against him. When I saw the Prime Minister's wife of Nepal begging down, kneeling down, begging for her lives as blood was gushing out and they were whooping her with belts, it brings me to fear that this thing can happen in Nigeria. When I saw the statue of the Prime Minister and his wife being destroyed and being peed upon, it reminds me of the 1 billion statue of Her Excellency. The only way that statue can be preserved for life is if you treat Nigerians with dignity, if you treat Nigerians with honor and give Nigerians their due entitlements. Traore Ibrahim is giving free education to underprivileged children throughout his country, giving them food, giving them uniform, giving them books, and they will read for as long as they want to up to university. I know you will say Traore is a military. No, not military. There were 4 military coups during Traore. 3 of them are sinking. They are even begging Nigeria for people. So Nigeria, you know, still depend heavily on Nigeria. It is not because it's a military. We had military for 40 years in Nigeria. The only thing they did is to draw us back. When you saw the generals, the marshal, or the commodores, bringing down a casket from an aircraft, you will know that those are not type of leaders that can bring Nigeria back to better. I am begging the Nigerian politicians who are destroying lives and livelihood of people, who are making people starve intentionally, waiting for the time of election to distribute money. We are begging all those people who believe that they are untouchable to see beyond their nose and look straight into what is happening in Nepal. It has happened in Nigeria before, about 3 times. It has happened. We saw how people were begging for their lives. We saw how their children were begging for their lives. We saw how their wives were begging for their lives. And all this happened because of the forgetfulness of the leaders of their responsibility to the people. We employed you to work for us. Stop using the position we offered you to oppress us. Otherwise, the goat you are chasing will reach a blocking point one day and they will turn back.
It is easy to speak to the victimization of the Nigerian, but how do you speak to the Nigerian's abandonment of his own right to fight for what he owns? You have governments who are meant to be trustees of your commonwealth, who have turned themselves into owners of the commonwealth. Yoruba says, which means that it is what you ignore that the goat eats. Go read the history of the Magna Carta. Some people stood against the King of England and he was forced to cede rights. It is your own readiness to denigrate yourselves that has taught our ruiners how to treat you. If you are accepting of oppression.
Because there's something wrong with our brain in Nigeria. When we begin to say it is because of 419 and Yahoo that Nigerians don't have respect. They think Nigerians are criminal because 419 and Yahoo. So our government knows to be, when pastor for church, imam, instead of facing the criminals in front of them when they see you, they go begin to talk about Yahoo boys. Like say, our society no deserve criminals. Every society, in any capitalist society, even non-capitalist, any society needs its criminals. Yes. Criminals must stay. Why do you not have criminals? Criminals will be in your society. There's no escaping it. African fraudsters that we call Yahoo boys, Yahoo. How much have they stolen? And they can combine. The Oyibo or God, they want to see the worship. Financial crisis of 2008 was nothing but fraud perpetuated by the richest of Americans. The richest Europeans stole everybody's savings. Did we say because of that, Europeans are no longer respected? This is the best of Europeans that did this. The best Europeans, the best Americans. They are elites, the bankers, the real estate moguls, the tech billionaires. They all are involved in what happened in 2008. But, once they sell you a narrative of how to hate a fellow struggling African, point finger at yourself, you all buy it. Hey, Yahoo boy. So now Yahoo boy they use as excuse. Now Yahoo boy they use as excuse to pass cyber. How many Yahoo boys have they used the cybercrime bill to arrest or sentence to jail now? It is you, when you say one thing, they're coming to arrest you. Cyberbullying, cyber this one. How can you bully a man that has armed guard outside his house? These people walk around with armed guards. They say because you post something online, you are bullying them.
You hear what I hear? I'm gonna be smart, Nigeria is a cruise. They should put us on Netflix. Sarah reporters is here reporting that U.S. government tells court Tinubu is CIA asset. Insists Nigerians have no right to access Tinubu's past records. Oh shit! Is it 007 or which one is it? Oh shit! Tinubu. Record that last year, the court declined an emergency application seeking to compel top U.S. law enforcement agencies to hasten the release of confidential information on Bola Tinubu. United States law enforcement agencies have insisted Nigerians have no right to unfiltered access to Bola Tinubu's past records. The position was stated in a memorandum filed by the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, before the United States District Court for the District of Columbia, which renowned journalist David Hundeyin shared on Twitter on Tuesday night. Recall that last year, the court declined an emergency application seeking to compel top U.S. law enforcement agencies to hasten the release of confidential information on Bola Tinubu. But let me just even state here, asset qua. I don't understand asset as in how. As in, it's an active asset. He has not reached the place where they can, disclose whatever they have on him. So they are still using him. What does that mean in terms of this is now someone who has rigged his way into office and occupying the office of the president that he shouldn't occupy in Nigeria? how vulnerable is Nigeria to all of this? All of this, is it just story? Is it just hearsay? Is it just mere fabrications, accusations? Because I don't even understand. But anyway, let me go back. Given an update on the case, Hyundai said the 3 U.S. agencies had filed their defense against the summary judgment concerning Bola Tinubu's drug trafficking investigation records. The journalist wrote yesterday, that's Monday, in federal court, the CIA, FBI, and DEA filed a memorandum opposing our motion for summary judgment in the FOIA, Freedom of Information, I think, disclosure case about Bola Tinubu's drug trafficking investigation records, where we are seeking to have the redactions removed from the partially released files. For those of you that have not followed during the presidential election, during and after, right? There was this thing that was demand that all the records of Tinubu should be made public. At the end of the day, I think it was just before the swearing, something like that, that the FBI did make some records open, but they redacted it. That's a lot of parts were not shown, were not allowed to go out there. People are saying this is someone who was involved in drug trafficking to the extent that he had to even forfeit $460,000, I think it was. So on what basis was he allowed to get away? What probably people are asking, what deal did he strike with the state? Did he strike with the state? Was he, and right now, like what is being implicated here is the fact that he's an asset that had been used for certain things. So it's an active asset, so that means it's still being used. And you are wondering why when Tinubu goes out with other presidents, they used to keep him by the side. He can't enter. And then you now say one thing, and before you know what's happening, it's appearing somewhere else. Anyway, let me come back to this thing. In the finding, the CIA effectively confirmed that Nigeria's sitting presidency is an active CIA asset. An extract from the CIA filings read, human sources can be expected to furnish information to the CIA only when they are confident the CIA can and will do everything in its power to prevent the public disclosure of their cooperation. So, human assets. So, Tinubu is an asset to them, so they are protecting him. And I think even Tinubu too also wrote to them when the courts, even Atiku had also done a filing for certain things. Tinubu had wrote to them that it is going to affect national security and blah, 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 blah. So we know it now. So let me repeat what I said earlier. Human sources, this is what CIA filed. They say human sources can be expected to furnish information to the CIA only when they are confident the CIA can and will do everything in its power to prevent the public disclosure of their cooperation. In the case of a person who has been cooperating with the CIA, official confirmation of that cooperation could cause the target to take retaliatory action against the person or against their family or friends. It also places in jeopardy every individual with whom the cooperating individual has had contact. Thus, the indiscretion of one source in a chain of intelligence sources can damage an entire spectrum of sources. As such, confirming or denying the existence of records on a particular foreign national like Tinubu reasonably could be expected to cause damage to the U.S. national security by indicting whether or not the CIA maintained any human intelligence sources related to Tinubu and identifying any assets or lack of access any such sources had to intelligence concerning him. English. But you know, between the English, if you read between the lines, what are they saying? And if that wasn't bad enough, the DEA's filing included a paragraph that literally said, we oppose full unredacted disclosure of the DEA's Bola Tinubu heroin trafficking investigation records. Lord have mercy. Because we believe that while Nigerians have a right to be informed about what their government is up to, they do not have a right to know what their president is up to. Hey! You get what they talk? Why you have a right to know what your government is up to, you don't have a right to know what your president, like I always say, legitimate president is up to. Hey! Hey, at this point, I think there's nothing more to be said about the direct role that the U.S. government plays in ensuring that Africa is constantly destabilized and afflicted with terrible leaders who create poverty and devastation. This is where we are in Nigeria. This is Tinubu. Somebody with a drug. So you can even call him a drug dealer. Now, yes, he is. CIA agent. Eh? 007. Hey! Tinubu. Tipe. Rigger of the rigging. The rigging rigger. Rigege rigogo. Tinubu. After you, na you understand? Do anyhow with Niger. Turn now. Twister, you get backing. But one thing be say, your backing no reach when people vex. When Nigerians vex, you go hear am. Monkey go market, you no go come back.